Jay, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing quite well, Greg. And yourself? How is Toronto treating you?
Well, Toronto. So now that you brought up the topic,
Well, I meant the city.
I know. Toronto Maple
We could
Leafs.
turn to the Leafs in a second. I know how the Leafs are treating you.
Toronto's great, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are not great, Jay. 20 games in. 20 games in, American Thanksgiving. They're right at the bottom of the standings. 20 points. So if simple math extrapolates, then they're basically headed for like an 84, 88 point season, which isn't going to get them in the playoffs.
I'll correct you in one stand there is that they're not at the bottom because you always have Buffalo. So
Right.
Buffalo's always just south of Toronto, right?
Pity Buffalo.
Physically and in hockey.
You know, Buffalo's a fantastic venue for Toronto and GTA Canadians to go to. It's actually just a lovely arena,
Yeah.
and it's great. It's an easy sort of hike and all the rest. I know that this is just my little friend group, my bubble, the people that I associate with, but not quite to a a person, but darn close. I have heard from dozens of people that they're not going to go to the States, but they're not watching a Buffalo Sabres game for the next 3 years or so for that timing because just they're so deeply offended. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether or not that's affected Buffalo, but if it has, then I got to tell you, I mean, the games that I've gone to, and they haven't even been Leaf games, there have just been so many Toronto people, and I can tell you that just from the Leaf jerseys that they're wearing, as well as the lineups to get across the border afterwards.
I don't think the Sabres should be called offensive. So I don't know why people are getting offended about that. It was a joke. I
Yeah, I
appreciate
know.
that.
I know. I know.
But Vancouver's got a kinship with Buffalo because the Canucks came into the league with the Sabres, and neither one of them have won a cup.
Right. But you guys did go on that run back in,
Well,
when was that?
we
2011?
Canucks have been three times. I think Buffalo has been twice. They lost to Philly in '75, then they lost that Brett Hull toe in the crease series to Dallas when Hasek almost stole a cup. But yeah, well, it's 50 some odd years later, Buffalo and Vancouver are still struggling together to try and move up the NHL food chain. And more NHL teams there are, the lesser the odds that you're going to have a chance to win the cup.
Yeah, it was tough watching the Buffalo Sabres waste Dominic Hasek's career. I mean, talk about a brilliant goalie. To me, at least, it was very similar to the Toronto Blue Jays wasting Roy Halladay's career. I mean, the dog was just phenomenal, but the rest of the team wasn't. So I know that that's quite a strong statement. But hey, the Sabres, they've got some fantastic players once in a while. And apparently, when they get surgery that they need, and when they leave to go to Vegas, they can actually win a cup. So what can you do?
Well, one of the saving graces that Vancouver and Buffalo has is that their Stanley Cup drought has been less than the Leafs.
Yes, yes, apparently so. Apparently. Yeah, 1967.
Yep.
Tragically hip
I'm
song.
trying to segue into a start your rant about the Leafs.
Well, so Jay, why do they suck so bad? I mean, I think that's the technical term. They stink something
That's
fierce.
that that's the hockey term for it. Is that
I think so. So
yeah,
last year, I mean, so last year they had phenomenal goaltending. This year, Stolarz has come back to earth and lots of pressure on him. And hopefully Joseph Wall is okay in all respects. He's certainly played, I think, well in the first couple of games.
yeah.
But I was looking at the standings, and the Leafs are right up at the top, like top five or six in goals for. So they're actually scoring goals. It's just the problem is that they're also top four or five in goals against, and so they're just a leaky ship.
Yeah, but is it all? I don't know if you can blame it all on the goaltending. I mean, Stolarz is hurt. I mean, first Stolarz was probably getting overplayed at the start of the year because Wall was out. And Stolarz was probably going to have a little bit of a regression just because he was so good last year. He was really good the year before too. So there's a reason that Toronto sort of signed him back up, right? So like he's out though right now, isn't he? I think he's hurt, and I don't think there's a timetable necessarily for him coming back, is there?
Yeah, he's hurt. He got hurt against the Bruins, the same game that Austin Matthews left. So, but yeah, no, none of this is really the goalie's fault. I mean, yes, they weren't standing on their head, but this is just a leaky ship. I mean, the type of plays that the Leafs were giving up in the first 20 games to terrible teams, 3-on-1s, 2-on-nothings. Like it was just absolutely ridiculous. Just a leaky ship. Craig Berube, the chief, comes from the Blues and Mr. Defense and all the rest. And no, the Leafs are just this unmotivated, non-cohesive jumble of just awfulness, charging top dollar and $20 sandwiches and $22 beers. I mean, it's just outrageous.
I'm sure the $20 sandwiches are sliced Wagyu, right?
Yeah. No,
Nope.
actually, no. No. To to get on the board, you got to start with a two and have two digits, and then everything goes up from there. It's just
Yikes.
bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, getting back to the team, like injuries are happening for everybody, but I mean, Toronto's already missing Matthews, but on the back end, like Tanev's out now, and I think I read somewhere he's week to week. Is he even, have they put him on LTIR now, or is he,
I
I
don't
think
know if he's yeah, I don't know if he's on
yeah,
LTIR, but he wasn't playing well. I think he got hurt early in the season, came back, wasn't playing well, and then of course got that hit from behind on that so-called innocent play. So yeah.
yeah. But they're also missing Brandon Carlo, right? Like that's two of your top four guys that are out of your lineup, and they're probably two of the guys that were sort of viewed to be sort of their bigger sort of stalwarts defensively. They were going to allow guys like Riley. I mean, Morgan Riley's had a good start to the season.
Well, n not necessarily, but anyways, yeah. I mean, I think
Well,
he's having trouble moving the puck. I mean,
and that's I was listening to Chris Johnson talk the other day during one of his interviews, and that's one of the things he was noting was that like yeah, the goaltending hasn't been as good as it was last year, but part of the problem is just getting the puck out of the zone,
right.
and the defense is probably just not constructed. It's hard to tell though, like when you don't have Tanev, you don't have Carlo there, and nobody's gotten into a flow. We're only 20 games into the season, and if you haven't had your sort of full complement of players uh, gelling, it's tough to sort of do a measure as to how poor the defense is. But I mean, it sounds like the fans in Toronto are not holding out much hope for defensive improvement.
Well, and so that's the result of being spoiled. What a 9 straight years of playoffs and doing quite well during the regular season before absolutely disappearing during the playoffs. But in terms of this, if the arithmetic holds correct, like if this easy run of lesser teams in the first quarter of the season, which didn't result in points, if this is the way that it's going to be, then the Leafs are going to be headed for a non-playoff spot somewhere in the 85-point range, 88-point range. And the last time they were doing that, they did this, Jay, was back in 2013. And you know who was on that team? Just a bunch of guys that weren't that great. No.
That's that's a
Back,
that's a
yeah, no, I know.
that's
That's a terrible
that's an
slam.
well, and
It's
I'm trying to
terrible.
think
It's
that
it's unfair here, but I'll give you it was a Randy Carlisle team. And so this was when Phil Kessel ruled the roost.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, Phil Kessel, Dion Phaneuf. Now, the goaltenders were Jonathan Bernier and James Reimer, and they actually gave the Leafs good goaltending back then. This is back in 2013. Like Bernier played 55 of the games. He had a save percentage of 923. James Reimer played almost the rest. He had a save percentage of 911. So they had good goaltending, but their problem was lack of firepower. They didn't have a whole bunch. They had, Kessel, they had Van Riemsdyk, they had Kadri and Bozak and so on and so forth. So they also, I think, probably had the last year of Joffrey Lupul at that point. But this team currently today, 25, 26 edition, certainly more skilled. I mean, they have more firepower, but they're certainly not playing like a team. Any prescriptions from a Vancouver fan? How can we fix this?
Well, no, I mean, but I look at the top end. I mean, the Canucks are have a dearth of centermen. They got Elias Pettersson, and that's about it. I mean, I look at Toronto, and you're sitting there going, you got like Johnny Tavares is having a very good year. You still got Matthews when he comes back. He's got to be a top 10 center in the league for sure, if not a top five center in the league when he's going. Like, there's not too many other guys active in the league who have won a Hart Trophy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But
So, I mean, I think what's happening, some of the depth guys in Toronto probably just haven't performed like they thought. I mean, they brought in like Michelli. Michelli's like probably hasn't done what they'd hoped he was going to do. They probably thought he was going to be a top six guy. But again, if he's been sort of getting to know what's going on, and then Matthews has been out, I think they were thinking Michelli might be a wingman with Matthews and Nyes.
right.
And if he hasn't had a chance to get up to speed, Matthew Nyes has been very good from what I've seen. I haven't been watching as many Leafs games as I might otherwise like, but I mean, when you watch the games that I've watched, like he's been impactful in all of them. So you've got a great young guy to build around. William
Yeah.
Nylander's having a fantastic year. I don't know if his defensive play. I mean, he's never been he was never going to be getting any Selke votes, but I mean, if he's more than probably matching any goals against, he's got to be matching them with what he's been doing on the ice. But the thing is, they're again they're if Dyes has replaced Marner and they got a big forward, they're not. I don't think they're getting a lot of contributions from any of the other forwards.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. Not yet, at least. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's tough because this is the obviously the tail end of everything must go, getting rid of all the picks, getting rid of all the prospects. So it really is a bare cover. The Leafs don't have a lot to give. And then, of course, when you let Mitch Martin just walk out the door for free to Vegas, then, so be
yeah.
it.
Well, but they were kind of stuck. I mean, what do you do? I mean, they're last year they're still looking like, particularly with the goaltending they were getting, they were looking like they could be a team that could make a run. Like they won the division last year, right? So, I mean, Marner was probably leaving anyways, but I mean, they were hamstrung. If Marner wasn't going to sort of move his no trade clause at the trade deadline, then what can you do? He had a no move clause. He wants to finish out the season. They want to give the team a run. They're getting the goaltending. They made moves. I mean, what's going to be sort of harmful for the Leafs going forward is like who'd they move? They moved out Grabeshkin and Minton last year to bring in Carlo. And did they move? I don't think they've got their first round pick this year, do they?
No, they don't have their first round pick for anymore. They've given them all away.
Yeah. I think it's lottery protected. So it's like if they happen to win the lottery somehow and get Gavin McKenna, like that's the dream fix for everybody. Calgary's probably thinking that. Like anybody near the bottom is thinking if they can get Gavin McKenna, that's your rebuild right there. I was looking at the NHL stats the other day because I was just thinking, I know because the last call we had, we talked about Celebrini and Bedard, and I was looking and going like the top scorers in the league right now, like Nathan McKinnon, first overall, Connor McDavid, first overall, Macklin Celebrini is tied with McDavid at 30 points, first overall. Bedard's up there, first overall. I think that Leon Draisaitl's up there. He was like third overall. Rantanen's up there. He was 10th. I mean, but there's I think five guys who are first, overall. McCarr's up there. He was fourth overall. Like the if you don't have a first, second, third, fourth overall kind of pick, like those are the guys that are going to be leading the league. Toronto had their guy. They got Matthews. I mean, in a usual year, he'd probably be top 15. There's another guy first overall. Like that's why teams tank because you just look at the top of the scoreboard is the instruction for what you have to do to build your team, and that's you got to get high picks.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's so the easy fix. I mean, like it'd be interesting to see what the Leafs do with Matthews because what has he got? One more year left on his deal.
Yeah, I think one or two, I'm not sure.
I think it's this one, and I think it's another one. It's 27. He had a five. He signed a 5-year deal, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, like, is he going to want to re-sign in Toronto? And do they do the same thing? Do they? I mean, do they ride him out the way they did with Marner, and then he decides I'd like to return to the States? I mean, there's even more of an incentive for him. Vancouver's facing the same questions with Quinn Hughes. You got a couple American kids, set captains in their respective Canadian markets. They're the stars of their team, but are they going to pick up and go south when they've got an opportunity to do so? And it might not be that they don't like the markets and they don't like the teams, but if both of the teams are sort of on a decline and there's a rebuild sort of on the horizon, are they going to want to stick around for those? Like I'm
So,
curious. I mean, Vancouver's obsessed with Quinn Hughes right now. It's like you can't listen to a Vancouver sports talk radio show with like somebody not mentioning what they might have to do with Hughes. This morning was a lengthy conversation that was the same as the lengthy conversation from Friday, which was similar to the lengthy conversation from the previous Wednesday. Like it's going to be the question as long as the Canucks are struggling. The Canucks are one of five teams that are under 500. There's only five teams in the NHL under 500 because with all the loser points, with the 3-point games, with games going to overtime, like what's that? 26 of 32 teams are 500 and better, which mathematically doesn't sound like it should make sense. But
right.
the Canucks are one of five teams. They're only one game under 500.
Right.
But is the league going to? I mean, are the Canucks going to be good enough to maintain Hughes' interest? Are the Leafs going to be good enough? And the Leafs are kind of at the end of their sort of window of opportunity, I think, with Matthews. Like, are they going to be able to bring in enough good young guys? Again, they traded Minton and Grabeshkin. With those two pieces have been kind of nice bottom six guys that could be producing offensively. Like Minton's doing that in Boston, not putting up huge numbers, but he's not getting power play time or anything like that either. But he's looked pretty good. I don't think Grabeshkin's had an opportunity. I think he's in Philadelphia now, but I don't think he's had an opportunity. But like the thought, I think in preseason they were talking like he could be a guy in the NHL at some point, like a middle six forward. And that seems to be where Toronto's sort of light right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess the idea is that you can always pick up middle six or bottom six. There are plenty of those.
Yeah.
But thank
Well,
you for
how's Nick Robertson been?
Nick Robertson. I think same as usual, which is that he's in Berube's doghouse. He keeps on scoring, given his limited minutes. He's getting a little bit more exposure now because of all the injuries. But yeah, I mean, he's on a 1 year deal again. I think Toronto has really burned its bridges with Robertson. They've tested probably the trade waters for what, the past 4 years, and they value him, and yet they won't play him. But I have to say, I mean, that was a pretty masterful job of you throwing a cluster bomb into the conversation. Here I was ready to complain about the Leafs and just sort of blah blah blah, and now you've raised the
That's
specter that you've
my
raised this.
job. My job is to bring you back, keep giving you some hope, Greg.
Well, hope, right? Saying that this is truly the end of the era, and now we have to worry about Austin Matthews. Yeah, I think all of us, everyone worries about Austin Matthews. I mean, certainly last time, that was a big worry because who knows? I think that he likes being with the biggest team in the market. I think he likes the Justin Bieber relationship and that sort of thing. And I think he's clever enough to know that from an exposure standpoint, he has really punched above his weight despite his prodigious scoring talents. He's really punched above his weight because he is on the biggest team that has the biggest draw and the most media, etc. So if he wants to go to a smaller team, then he can, of course, everybody would take him, but I guess he'd have to go really to a winner. He'd have to say, I'm not good enough to lead a team on my own, and so I need to go to Florida or I need to go to Vegas or the next coming iteration of one of those teams because Toronto handed me everything and I just couldn't do it.
Well, he wasn't alone in that. It's not like he's the reason that they didn't make it. Like that's the whole team has sort of underachieved in the playoffs. But it's just I'm just thinking age wise and cycle wise, like other than Matthew Nyes, Easton Cowan's looked not too bad from the snippets that I've seen him play. He's been on the first power play. Now I don't imagine he's going to stay there when Matthews is back.
Right.
Maybe he will because he was playing with Nyes and Matthews, wasn't he, for a stretch there before Matthews went down?
Yeah, I think he's got spot duty all over. I think what it is, it's in this moment in time in mid-November 2025, it's a readjusting of expectations. So when you say that if the Leafs are in the running for the Gavin McKenna lottery. Oh my goodness. If that is to come true, then you are going to just laugh your ass off because the next 5 months during the season and the next year is going to be nonstop screaming from Toronto because, that'll just be horrible. But maybe that's correct. Maybe the expectations are changing at this moment. Like I think, and this is not a
Well,
shot,
well,
this is not a
yeah.
shot, but Vancouver has had that expectation now at least in the offing. I mean, you guys underperformed last year during the JT Pedersen thing. And so then you play well, but at least you guys have had glimpses of the fact that maybe this team is not built
No,
to
but in the
perform.
no, but in the Pedersen Hughes era, they've really only had the one good season 2 years ago where everything aligned, nobody got hurt. Pedersen was playing well, Miller was playing well, like Besser was fantastic. Like that year, it looked like they were ready to sort of launch and take the next step. And then last year happened, and a couple grown men couldn't figure out how to play nice together, and that impacted the team. And they're not necessarily any better than they were last year. They seem like I think the team, from the fans' perspective, I think that they look at the team and say, "Hey, the team is playing hard. They're playing with some sort of energy and grit." And they've probably overachieved considering everybody they've got that are hurt. Like we were talking about sort of some of the Leafs that were hurt. I mean, the Canucks lost Philip Hedl to a concussion when Tom Wilson clocked him. And that was going to be, and he'd gotten off to a decent start, but that was going to be their 2C. They're going to see whether or not, and he was the piece that came back, one of the pieces that came back with for Miller. You're going like, hey, that trade might end up being not too bad from Vancouver's perspective if they got a number 2C out of it. But he's been hurt. Garland's been hurt. Hughes has just been back. Hughes has missed some games. Thatcher Demko, who 2 years ago, again, when everything came together and he's putting up Vezina category numbers. I mean, lost to Hellebuck, but I don't think there's any shame in losing a Vezina to Connor Hellebuck, who's the best goalie in the league. So, but I mean, they have got Vezina quality goaltending when Demko's healthy, but how long is he going to be like? How he doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy. So, like for the Canucks, they are there pieces there that you might be able to build around? Yeah, but I mean, similar to the Leafs, like what's going to happen with Hughes? Are the guys going to be healthy? is the defense going to be? I mean, again, they put a bunch of energy into building up their defense. On paper, they look like they should be fantastic. I think the Canucks have given up the most goals in the league. So, like, doesn't help when your third string goalie gives up 8 goals to Florida. That's gonna in a in the first 20 games of the season, that's gonna add to your totals. But like the Canucks are kind of in the same boat as the Leafs, but they've both teams have been injured. Both teams are in second to last spot in their division. They're both 500 or a game under 500. But if
But
everybody comes back, is there a chance that they can still turn their seasons around?
a bit of sympathy, though, for the Leaf fans, please. In terms of Vancouver, at least the Vancouver Canuck fans, they came into the 25-26 season basically on a hope and prayer. You guys were hoping that things would fall into place and that you guys would be a playoff team or a solid team. It is of no surprise to anyone that you guys are struggling. I mean, it isn't a surprise. You guys have been in a tough spot for a little while. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but at least the expectation was there. The Leafs sell constant garbage hope all the time. So, yes, we took Florida to the second round and we played so well. And we, in fact, played them better than the other three teams in the other three rounds. And then come in September, our sports science department is doing wonderful things again, and they're rehabilitating people. And, players want to come here on PTOs. I mean, so we're just going to be able to play well. And now it turns out we're bottom five in the league. And it just fell that quick. And all the problems that we knew about, which is that there are bare cupboards. All of these first round picks given away, nilly will. Patrick Marleau, to get rid of his $6 million contract,
See,
we
now
had to
you're getting into ancient history.
we had to attach a first round pick to get rid of his contract. Anyways, all of those things are coming back to bite. So a little bit of sympathy because it's happening in real
Well,
time. We are discovering that comments like, "Hey, you might be in the running for the Gavin McKenna lottery." Those are not crazy comments. Those are actually comments that could run true with this team.
well, me saying you might win the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes wasn't you're going to be bottom five and have fantastic odds. It was, can you end up pulling off sort of lucky stroke and move up from, if let's say you finish 22nd in the league, so you've got the 10th best odds. That's where I would see maybe the Leafs and the Canucks again. Like neither the Canucks nor the Leafs are so bad that they're going to probably be bottom five, although the Canucks are there right now. But there's enough talent around when they're healthy that they probably shouldn't be that bad. And I know we sort of talked prior to starting this call about, for as bad as the teams are, it's not like they're like miles away from playoff spots because the league itself is a like a not a jumbled mess, but it's like there's only maybe a couple teams like Calgary looks like they're out of it. Who's in the bottom of the Central? There's a couple teams at the bottom of the Central that look like Nashville's at 16, St. Louis is at 17 points. They're 3 and 4 games under 500. And there isn't really a lot on either of those teams that would make you think that there's going to be a massive turnaround. Like we're getting to them. What's the measuring stick they usually talk about? It's like American Thanksgiving, right? Like if you're too far out of it at American Thanksgiving, you're probably not getting back into the playoffs. Like Calgary's at 13 points, Nashville's 16, St. Louis is 17, Buffalo's at 18. Everybody else has got 20 points or more. And I was looking at the divisions, like the Atlantic, where Toronto's in seventh. Like you're sitting there saying, hey, we're at the bottom of the division. Well, again, there's Buffalo, so the basement is always occupied by Buffalo. But Toronto's 500. They got 20 points. They're only 5 points out of first place. Detroit's got 25 points in same number of games. Like, do you think that Detroit is vastly better than Toronto?
Right. Yeah, I know. and I
The
think
the Bruin
that's
the Bruins have got 24 points in 21 games. And I think everyone's like going, wow, the Bruins are doing way better than we thought they were going to be. People thought Boston was going to be a team that might be bottoming out in the McKenna sweepstakes. But again, like Detroit to Toronto is a 5 point difference, 7 teams. You get to the Metropolitan Division, and it's like Carolina, New Jersey got 27. But then the next 6 teams, so from Pittsburgh down to Washington, there's a 4 point difference. So 6 teams are separated by effectively 2 wins. Get to the Central Division, Colorado's like, I mean, they're the odds-on favorite to win the cup now. They've only had one regulation loss all season, 31 points. But the next 5 teams between Dallas and Minnesota, like there's 5 points separating them. Again, that's 2.5 games. So anybody goes on a losing streak, anybody gets injuries, they can they drop off. Like if somebody said at the end of the season Dallas and Minnesota might be flipped, like I wouldn't necessarily be shocked. I think Dallas just lost Thomas Harley, who's week to week, so he's probably not going to be on the Canadian Olympic team like he was trending to maybe be. But I mean, if Dallas and Minnesota flip by the end of the year, I don't know if anybody would be surprised. And but Minnesota is in sixth place. They're only 2 points ahead of the Leafs. And then you get to the Pacific again, like Anaheim's got 25, Vancouver's got 20. So Vancouver's same position as Toronto. One game worse, one game under 500. There's 5 points separating first and seventh. So Vancouver gets guys healthy. They go on a bit of a run. Anaheim's young guys kind of go, hey, maybe we're not as good as we're playing right now. They go on a bit of a dip. San Jose is playing, I think, better than some people thought they would be. So if all these teams that everyone was kind of going, oh, they're going to probably be marginally better, if they all are a little bit marginally better, you're going to end up having this big mushy middle where it's going to be who gets hot at the right time to end up with where the playoffs are. And that's again, like if Vancouver and Vegas swapped, I'd be surprised. I think Vegas is probably better. Edmonton hasn't probably been as good as everybody thought they would be. I mean, we haven't talked about the Oilers. I mean, where are they? They're one game over 500.
they're
Are they
that's their MO though. I mean, they start awful and then they get really angry at themselves and then McDavid and Leon take over and there you go.
McDavid has gotten off to a better start this year. He's got 30, he's tied for second in score. He's only 3 points behind McKinnon, who's been like a monster to start the year. So McDavid's got to be the quietest 30 points in 21 games that you can think of. I mean, everyone's kind of like, hey, what's wrong with the Oilers? Well, McDavid and Draisaitl are continuing to do their thing. I mean, with the Oilers case, again, like, are some of these young guys, is Roslovic going to keep up what he's doing? Like, we didn't want to focus on the Oilers at all, but I mean, that's like all of these teams are going to have questions. And that goes to, again, like I heard a couple guys on TSN or Sportsnet, or one of them were talking about Chris Johnson was one of the guys talking about this. Like, how do teams like the Canucks or the Leafs change their fortunes for the year? Is there a way that they can turn their season around? Well, the trade option doesn't seem to be readily available because who's out of it right now? There's, I mean, the Canucks are looking to improve their fortunes. Well, they're the fifth worst team in the league right now, like points percentage wise.
Right.
So, like, but who do they make a trade with? Nobody's going to want to trade. Anybody who's in the bottom 10 isn't going to want to trade their first round pick for fear that they trade Gavin McKenna.
So the reason why Leaf fans haven't jumped out the window en masse is because of what you said, which is that there's league parity and there's obviously ample time. The
It has
hotshot
nothing to do with
teams,
it has nothing to do with the sterling leadership of Doug Ford.
well, Doug Ford. Oh my goodness. So, the reason why Leaf fans are looking at this is because you're right, the hot teams that really are a big surprise, they may come back down to earth. And, you know, if you're a really good team, like if you're a Florida, if you're a Tampa Bay, and you're doing as poorly as this, not only do you not really have a fan base, nobody cares, but also they have a confidence that you're going to get your stuff together. You're a veteran team and you're going to be able to pull this out. I think part of the problem and the angst that the Leaf fans have is that they're looking at this team and they're thinking, I don't know that we have the same type of confidence. Like, yeah, Florida stinks right now, but we think Florida is going to be able to come back. They can leave it to the last moment. But can you guys leave it to the last moment, especially when you run through the easiest part of your season? Not on time. Like, how do you not start the season on time after doing well last year, after finally breaking through the first round, which was like this amazing achievement. And then you start not on time. You just absolutely crap the bed game after game after game. So, yeah, you have to forgive Leaf fans for having zero faith because this team who knows what's going on here? Yes, we were sold a bag of goods. Nicholas Roy, supposed to be good, hard-nosed third liner who was getting only 9 minutes a game because Berube didn't trust him for the first 12 or to 15. We got Joshua Dakota from you, and we were told he was a big guy, not overly physical, but he had good hands and good feet and all the rest of it. He's also getting like 9 minutes a game. So it is what it is. We got no one coming to save us. And if our goalies aren't standing on their head, if our defensemen are not playing lights out, then you get what you get, which is fifth highest scoring team at this moment in time and fifth highest scored against team at this moment in time.
Well, that's a bit of a dour note. It's a sunny day in Vancouver. I don't know if I need that kind of bring down there, Greg. But again, like Toronto, I mean, if they get Stolar's back, again, no timeline on that. They get Tanev back, no timeline on that. They get Matthews back. But I take your point that by the time those guys come back, Matthews is probably coming back sooner. But by the time the other two guys come back to maybe stabilize the back end a bit, are they going to be too far out of it? I mean, what's going to be interesting this year is there's that 3 weeks off during for the Olympic break that's going to predate the trade deadline. So GMs are going to have 3 weeks with sort of no action, no ability to sort of judge. Like they'll have people who might be hot in January who are going to take 3 weeks off. If they're not playing in the Olympics and they take 3 weeks off, are they going to be hot again when they come back? Do you trade for somebody who you're not sure if they're going to be hot or not? Like when do those trades happen? When do teams decide, hey, we're pulling the plug on the year? Like again, Vancouver, like the conversation was again happening. It was the Quinn Hughes conversation, but they're sitting there saying like this might be the ideal time if the Canucks are out of it by the end of January. This might be the ideal time. They're going to have lots of sort of runway to sort of approach all the teams that might be interested in Quinn Hughes for two playoff runs. They'll have lots of time, and God forbid something happens to him at the Olympics where he gets hurt. That might eliminate that option altogether. But I mean, Toronto and Vancouver both might be in a position where they're sellers by the time the Olympics are coming around. And like you're saying, like, but who do either of those teams have? Vancouver's got Hughes. I don't know who else. Kiefer Sherwood is playing lights out. Like, there's a guy that could probably get them something back, something decent back. If he's still sort of, if he's at 20 goals by the time the Olympic break hits and the Canucks are out of it, like he's going someplace. The question is who's going to pay what? And again, if there's more teams in it, like, and this might be the ideal year for the Canucks and the Leafs to make those kind of trades, because if there's more teams that think they're in it, what would they be prepared to pay to the few teams that are going to be out of it?
Now, Jay, because you know all things Vancouver, I think that you have the inside line on this. So the through line is this. So Quinn Hughes apparently is a active player for the Vancouver Canucks, and so he has two brothers, you may know, one of which plays for the New Jersey Devils, and the second of which plays for the New Jersey Devils. So of those two brothers playing for New Jersey, the super duper star, Jack Hughes, the one who is a magician with puck, scores at will. He apparently suffered a very serious hand injury, which required surgery and is now keeping him up for 8 weeks. And I did my double take and quadruple take. He injured himself having team dinners. So my question then is this: what sort of team dinners do the New Jersey Devils engage in? Like what possibilities? Like has Keefe gone bonkers over there? Has Tom Curvers, I think he's the GM. I mean, like what do they do? Is this like sort of WrestleMania? Is this
I have no insight into that, but I'm hoping that conservative Quinn Hughes finds New Jersey team dinners offensive and decides that he'd like to stay in Vancouver.
right?
It's but this is interesting in that again, all the conversation in Vancouver being about Hughes is the assumption is that well, he's definitely going to want to go play with his brothers. They've all said that they'd like to play together at some point in their careers. Well, they could all do that when they're in their late 30s. Like Quinn Hughes might go to the team that pays him the most money and gives him the best opportunity to win a cup. And as we've seen with Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes, if he signed in New Jersey, might not mean that he's playing 82 games a year with his brothers because Jack Hughes doesn't seem to play 82 games a year.
So does that affect the US team? Like I know they're very deep, but surely to goodness Jack Hughes was slotting in as
Oh,
a 4C.
he was going to be on that team for sure. And I mean, again, there's an opportunity if Quinn Hughes wants to play with his brothers, play every time there's a U.S. Olympic team or a U.S. Four Nations kind of team. There's a chance to play with your brothers. But I heard somebody talking about the fact I can't remember who it was, so I can't credit them, but they were just talking about the fact that the U.S. Olympic team was relieved to hear that it was just going to be 8 weeks for Jack Hughes because he would then still be available in February. So I don't think his spot on the team is in jeopardy unless there's some sort of setback. Because again, a hand injury, he's going to be able to skate. He's going to be able to like stay in game shape. It's not like he's rehabbing a leg injury or a back injury that prevents him from doing sort of the kind of cardio work that you'd need to do to stay in shape. So I don't think his spot on the US Olympic team's in jeopardy. But again, from a hopefully Quinn Hughes stays in Vancouver mindset, I think that this injury will maybe put into Quinn's mind, my brother gets hurt a lot.
Well, a hand injury, that's tricky. If you are Ryan Reeves or dumb Tom Wilson, I mean, a hand injury is just a hand injury, no big deal. But if you're Patrick Kane, which is essentially what Jack Hughes is, probably just faster. So, the hand, that's a big deal. I'm sure that they're cutting the timeline, sort of quick and he's going to have perfect rehab and all the rest. But there's got to be a bit of time for a top shelf player like Jack Hughes to have to acclimatize towards playing at that high level with a wonky hand. So
But
I don't
don't
know.
I think these Olympic teams, I think one of the differences to the Four Nations and to previous Olympic teams, I think that they have two extra uh, player spots. So instead of having sort of 13 forwards, 7D, and three goalies, I think that they have like 14, 8, and 3. I have to check the numbers. Might be 15, 8, 3. Might be three spots. So like they would definitely I can't see Jack Hughes not again unless there's a setback and he just hasn't been able to grab a stick. I can't imagine that he's not going to be on that team.
I agree with you.
So,
But
but you
aggressive New
mentioned
Jersey dinners. I mean, aggressive New Jersey dinners, it just sounds ridiculous to me. I'm not sure how you can even begin the concept of explaining how exactly you hurt your hand. Like how, so if you are the New Jersey Devils management and you're sitting there, listening to your star player on the phone explain to you how it happened. Like, what do you do? Do you just say, okay, no, no, the summary version is enough. I don't need to know anymore. Like, do you even pretend to say, okay, well, how do we make team dinners safer in the future so that you don't injure your hand? Like, what type of conversation is that?
Maybe they give them all oven mitts.
I guess you could hire people
Yeah.
to feed them. That would be a lot safer.
I, I hopefully it's not reached that point. But we're not. It's not the New Jersey Devils seniors home. So,
Oh, to be young.
but you mentioned dumb Tom Wilson. I think dumb Tom Wilson's going to probably be on the Canadian Olympic team.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't like him. He's okay when he's got the jersey on for Canada, but otherwise I'm not a fan. I think he's just a big old cheap shot artist, but he'll play for our team and hopefully contribute.
Well,
So
I think the only reason that he wouldn't be on would be the fear that does his style of game translate to IIHF rules, and is he going to be a potential penalty risk running around out there? I just think that the Canadian Olympic team might be looking, going, if if they're forecasting that we're going to be either playing the Swedes with their towering defensemen or the Americans with the Kachuk brothers in the gold medal game, do you want a guy that can run around, bang some bodies, create a presence? Like, we're talking about Quinn Hughes. Like, if Quinn Hughes is carrying the puck up for the Americans in the gold medal game, is he skating with the same abandon that he usually skates with if he knows that 43 in a Canadian jersey is cruising along the middle ice?
I
If
agree
he's
with
at, if he's at
you.
center ice, and is he going to be, are people taking different tacks? Are they maybe skating with one eye, like looking for Wilson as opposed to looking for somebody who's streaking down the wing?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I would say, however, we have two really good cheap shot artists who are better than Tom Wilson without being blatantly that dirty, which is Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand. Secondly, Zach Hyman. I would choose Zach Hyman over Tom Wilson day in, day out. Zach Hyman will kill penalties for you, and he's also got a comfort level with McDavid. So I just think that Tom Wilson purposely crosses the line too often, and I'm not sure that the Olympics is a proper situation for him to be able to showcase those skills because it's going to be really hard for him to find someone who's facing the boards completely vulnerable and then be able to crush their head into the boards and then get up and say, what, me? So I mean, it's a faster game. He's going to barely be keeping up. So I don't know. Maybe he'll catch someone and he'll get them knee on knee, but otherwise, I think you're
Well,
better off.
I wouldn't say that Wilson or that Sam Bennett is vastly better than Tom Wilson. I
Sam
think they
Bennett is able to go through the crease in live play with two refs watching, and he's able to stick his elbow out and take out his former goalie in live play and then say, so no, the
that's
guy is a
that's
magician.
NHL playoff hockey, which is reffed a lot differently than IIHF Olympic hockey.
You know
So
everything. Wait
I
a
don't think
second. No, no,
I
no.
don't think I don't think I
You know everything. So allow me to ask you this. In the
don't know everything,
20
but
in the 24-25 season in the playoffs, did Sam Bennett take out four consecutive goalies
I don't know if he took out four consecutive goalies. He went aggressively to the net.
in four different rounds?
Well, that's because that's how many rounds the Florida Panthers paid to win the Stanley Cup. So
Anyways,
I I don't know if Bennett is any less a penalty risk than Wilson. I think they play different games. Wilson's also a natural winger. Bennett's a natural center. Bennett will not, if Bennett's on the Olympic team, I don't know if he's playing center
right. Oh,
because,
of course he cannot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking about Hyman and his comfort level with McDavid, like, I'm going to hazard a guess that with the level of skill that is going to be on the Canadian team at forward, like I'm pretty sure any of those guys could get comfortable with McDavid.
Yeah. But going back to the skill, right? Like how many agitators do you actually need? I just don't think there's room on the squad. There shouldn't be room. Hopefully we're skilled enough where Tom Wilson doesn't make it even onto the practice squad.
Again, do you want to have that kind of presence? I'm thinking about the American team. The American team is going to have Brady Tkachuk. They're going to have Matthew Tkachuk. So do you have somebody you can put on the ice that isn't necessarily going to outskill those guys, but that those guys aren't going to necessarily run around and think that they can take the kind of shots? Because as much as I like guys like Mark Scheifele or Bo Horvat, guys that could form like a part of a bottom four line, great centers, great in the face-off circle. Like, are the Kachuk brothers going to be fearful of those two guys? Probably not. Are they going to be second guessing what they might do if Tom Wilson's out there? I don't know. There's definitely 16 more forwards with Canadian passports who are more talented than Tom Wilson. But does he bring? I mean, every single Olympic team has got two or three guys on it where you kind of go, oh, like they're there to play maybe a specific role.
Right.
I don't think any of the teams are necessarily taking their best 16 offensive forwards. That would be fun if it was kind of like, let's just go down the list and pick our 18, 16 best scorers and let them play pond hockey. That could be really entertaining, really high scoring, but I mean, coaches aren't built that way.
Right. Right. And it's a short tournament and it is a tournament. And
Yep.
so yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, he's in the conversation. I guess it depends on how he's playing. I don't have you followed him? Is he playing lights out right now? Is he
I
doing
happen to
okay?
have him on one of my fantasy teams, so I
Okay.
have been following him. I don't have I'll just look up his exact point totals here, but I am always pleasantly surprised at the end of every week how how many points he has chipped in for me. Let's just
Okay.
take a quick look here. So 18 points in 19 games this year. So he's
Wow,
on a
that's
point a game play pace.
that's excellent.
So
Yeah, yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll see him on. And so staying with the Olympic team, the Canadian National Olympic team, Tom Harley. So he's injured. Do you think he might be a doubt here?
well, I think so. I mean, well, it's they're saying it's week to week. So again, it, and here's the thing with a guy like Harley is like he really made his impact last year. He was a bubble guy last year, got called up into the Four Nations when somebody else was, and it was it Morrissey, I think. I can't remember who was exactly knocked out, who wasn't able to sort of continue. But I mean, Harley really like looked like he'd cemented himself a spot on the Olympic team. But if he's out week to week, like again, going to your Jack Hughes point, like if he's not in sort of full training mode and he's not going to be in sort of game shape by the time the Olympics run around, he still might be named to the team because they also, I mean, I think they could probably name him to the team, and then if he's not healthy, they probably have, I think it's a certain number of days before the Olympics start that they can replace guys. But I mean, I think Drew Doughty got hurt too, and I was not sure if Doughty was one of those guys who was still kind of on the Olympic radar. I mean, he was back for the Four Nations, right?
Right.
And that was after having missed the first half of last year. So you kind of think, I mean, Hockey Canada is so loyal to these guys. Like if you do something for Hockey Canada at some point in your career, like they almost like they forever remember. And that's what I've heard like with like Nick Suzuki's a young guy for Canada that they've talked about like being on the team. But I think he turned down an opportunity last year to go play in the World Championships after Montreal was knocked out. So I remember I was hearing somebody sort of talking about, hey, is that something that Hockey Canada might hold against him? And again, because he's playing in Montreal, because he's playing so well, they're kind of going, oh, they might not be able to put him on the team. So I mean, that's the other thing we always forget about is there's like everything. Like there's politics at minor hockey. That doesn't stop when you get up to Hockey Canada at the top level.
Right.
Like there's still be guys lobbying for their players. So, but yeah, a guy like Harley, like the Canadian defense, I don't think is as deep as the American defense, but there's still a lot of quality Canadian defensemen that could get called up. Is there another young guy in the offing who could fill in, could take the spot that Harley might vacate?
Right. Yeah.
Chris Tanev.
Yeah. Well, let's hope not.
Yeah, well, I think I just read that he's on LTIR now. So that's
Oh, he is. Okay.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
I mean he'll be back for the playoffs, assuming the Leafs make the playoffs.
Right.
Just
I,
wanted to
I
throw that in.
I think I read that I think he was undrafted or, or anyways, I think he's just one, or maybe that's Simon Benoit. Anyways, so yeah, one of the Leaf defensemen at least was really unheralded and just worked his way. I think that's Benoit. Anyways, yeah, well, so in terms of this, then I think we settled it. The Leafs just not a very good team, and all the Leaf
The Canucks
fans.
also not a very good team,
That's right.
and
And
and in all likelihood, neither one of them will end up with Gavin McKenna.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So who knows? Well, okay. Thank you for this, Jay. This was excellent.
Well, thanks, Greg. We will chat soon. We'll hook something up for next week.
Okay, sounds great.
And hey, next week maybe we'll talk some first week of the PWHL. Vancouver Golden Knights are playing their first game on Vancouver on Friday night, so
All right.
I'll
Oh,
I'll
that
report back on that. I'm looking to see if I can get a ticket to that game, but it's tickets for those games are being sold very quickly, so it's I think Vancouver is going to be a big hit in the PWHL.
good stuff. Well, the talent is there. It is just sort of fascinating to watch and see how good they actually are. It's impressive. And then of course, um, the national teams, the two national teams, the Canadian and the US women's side, those will be a treat to watch because it seems like every single year, tournament after tournament, those are the two that are duking it out constantly, right?
Yep, well, it's I think there's maybe been two or three tournaments over the years where they have not been in the gold medal game,
Right.
whether it's the World Championships or the Olympics. So yeah, we can probably gear up for a U.S. Canada women's Olympic gold medal final.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, good stuff. Well, let me
Excellent.
know how that game goes, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Thanks,
Greg.
bud. Okay.